I like a twin-stick shooter, loved Helldivers and Alien Nation, but you don't really see many get released, so when I heard about the Ascent, I was all in. It's almost a great game, and with some patches for balance changes it will be, but it was made by 11 people, so we can cut it some slack I suppose. So you're a slave to the corporations, but one day the corp you owe your life to collapses and everything is messed up. Loads of gangs and other corps are trying to take control, and it's up to you to stop that and uncover the mystery of the collapse. It starts off with you cleaning out the sewers because the people are getting feces coming out of their shower and taps. So yes, life is pretty poo for the average person. But as you go up the food chain, living conditions improve dramatically. It's a beautifully realised world and the top shelf graphics help it come alive, but the story drags and I found myself getting bored of it after a few hours and just skipped the dialogue. There's some good humour to lighten up the depressing mood, but most characters in this game are tossers, so why should I care about them? At its core, the Ascent is a twin-stick shooter, and it feels really good. The guns sound great, it makes you purse your lip as you fire in them. You have the ability to take cover and raise your gun up to fire over it, and if you want a tip for this game, for God's sake use that cover system. It also has some light RPG mechanics as well, such as weapons to collect and upgrade, armor sets, skill points with a handful of categories to put them in, and a few of the skills to map to shoulder buttons. It's not so in depth that it's intimidating, which is good, since then you can focus on the shooting. The annoying thing about guns and armor is armor has certain resistances to certain damages, but it's impossible to know what type of damage an enemy is going to do until you fight them, die, and reload. It's the same with guns. How am I meant to know what enemies are coming up in order to change my gun to something that will do more damage to them? But the armour and weapons do look good, and there is plenty of it, but not to the point where you're getting drops every enemy so you have to pause the game or go to a vendor to sort it all out. Keeps the pace up. The enemy AI is pretty good. They will flank you and use grenades to flush you out of cover, and it's pretty funny how many innocent civilians you will gun down accidentally on purpose. They just run right into everyone's guns when it kicks off. One annoyance I had with the combat is enemies spawning in from nowhere behind you. Sometimes you will see them climb over ledges and other times they just materialise in front of you. It's a cheap trick that artificially raises the difficulty of some encounters by too much. The ability to use health recovery items would make it so much more manageable. It's even more annoying when you get caught on the scenery, which happens quite a bit. The game is just unbalanced as well. You get quests that give you a recommended level, but the enemies are usually way above that, and there are some absolutely brutal difficulty spikes at points. Maybe co-op makes it a lot more manageable, but it's absolutely balked at the moment. There is local co-op too, which is a nice addition, but with the online there's no public matchmaking, despite you being able to host a match and make it an open session, which is confusing. There's other annoyances as well, like even with the fast travel system, there is still too much walking around and backtracking. A sprint or dash function would help this out massively. The map is pretty useless too. It shows you the general direction of the thing you want to go to, but since the game has a lot of verticality, it doesn't help at all in that respect. There are plenty of main quests and side quests to get on with, so at least you have plenty of content, and the rewards for some missions are good, but some of them are terrible, and the quality of the quests varies. Some just involve you doing deliveries, others have pretty intense shootouts. As I said earlier, it's a gorgeous game. The characters and NPCs can look a bit rubbery up close, but seriously that's the only bad in the presentation I can think of. The sound design and music are great too, plenty of pumping 80s synth for you to enjoy. It ran perfectly fine on the Series S for me as well, with only a few frame drops when it got heavy. To sum up, the Ascent could be a great game with just a few balanced patches, so despite all the things I didn't like about it, I could recommend the game in a few months as the devs seem very passionate about sorting the game out. It's just not in the best place at the moment.
I'm such a mess, I'm lost, I'm no good at this. I'm in love, still in love, still in love with you. Hard as I try, I can't even drink this pain away. Memories of you, twisting my view. I've been a fool.